News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with DarkOakMedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And Joe, I look at you in utter disgust.
Yes?
You know why?
What?
Because I wish you all a very happy National Garage Day.
Garage Day? Why single me out? Everybody's got a garage.
No, because yours is decluttered beyond all help. No, cluttered beyond all help.
Oh, contraire. No, we talked about that, didn't we, Allan? We talked about how we got out there as a family.
Yeah.
Decluttered. Now, it's still got a lot of stuff in there, but you can park
Define
the car
better,
in there.
though.
Well, I mean,
You
we
can
threw
park a
out
car
the
in
things
there.
that weren't necessary. But
trust
National
me,
Garage
trust
Day.
me, I've seen some hoarders. That garage is not a hoarder.
Did
that
garage
one's organized?
Did garages exist before the automobile? This might be its own discussion.
No, it was called a barn.
Okay, but the garage is its own culture. I mean, that's the only part of the house I can call my own. Well, I used to be able to call it my own. But, okay, well, I don't know why you're glaring at me on that one, Max. I think, I mean, Allan, you probably got garage stories, right? I mean.
Oh, my garage looks like, freezer backup storage.
Okay. Well, I suspect we're going to be getting some commentary on this. And okay, National Garage Day. That's on the table.
I think the only reason you might find it a disturbing, Joe, is because you don't like Ford, and the first garage door was actually the result of a miscalculation by Henry Ford.
Oh. Okay, well, then I think we'll get the backstory on that. I feel like somewhere back in the day we might have discussed this many years ago.
All right, let's go to if you're going to open the door here, let's start with the mother-in-law suite and the carriage house. Because you had to have a place to put your horse and your buggy.
And you put your mother-in-law out there with the horse?
Well, when we quit having the horse and buggy, that kind of got enclosed, and we started calling those the mother-in-law suites.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we'll put a pin in that, Max. I think we'll have to. That's very tantalizing. We'll have to find out more about that. But speaking of tantalizing, it's a perfect day to go over to Facebook and go to @ToolTalkRadio because we're all up to date on our posts. And including some unexpected posts that I'm not going to tease, but let's see. So, Allan, this week you continued the brutality. You sent me. I don't know how you crammed all this in. It was kind of like that movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where there's no possible way you could have actually done all that in one day.
Oh, I didn't send you half the pictures.
It was a busy week, it looks like.
I just sent you the highlights.
Okay, yeah. You deserve a month off after all this work. So I hope we'll get to this. If we don't, we'll get to it next time. But my wife and I rescued a cypress wooden table.
Ooh,
it cost
nice.
us about $8 in stain and about an hour of sanding. And it looks nice, man. I probably should have taken pictures. I'll take pictures next time. But the reason I was looking at you on this, Allan, is because apparently cypress is a really rare wood for furniture. Like
it is.
I didn't know that. I thought, well, okay, cypress, whatever.
I have a sweet gum buckboard.
There we go.
I will not part with.
I've never worked with cypress before, so I wanted to do that, and I'll get a picture up there, folks. Don't worry. We've got okay. So Max, we have a call to action from the listeners. You need help with one of your battle swords, is that right?
Correct.
All right. It's a metalworking question, Allan.
Oh,
we'll look at you.
All right, I'm good.
But we can, we'll get to that maybe when we come back from the break. We've got, I'm just looking here. Oh, okay. In our great moments in building history, I'm not going to tell you what it is until after the break because the great moments in building history is a reaction to one of the stories we broke last week that we're going to follow up with here momentarily, all about that weird electrical surge at my house.
Right.
And in honor of that, we structured and we crafted the great moments in building history around the memory of this incident. And that's all I'm going to say. So, and one last thing I'm just going to say here because before you cut off my mic, Max, is I just want to take advantage of this. I haven't had a lot to celebrate in the last few years, Allan, in terms of the Cubs. But, man, are they playing great now. They're in first place, like they're dominating the National League. They beat the Dodgers the other day. The Dodgers marched into all their fans marched into Chicago the other day for a series, and they even had a little parade down Clark Street, and the Cubs shut them out 3 games in a row, and they had to send them home with their in shame, and it was great, man. So, and out of respect for the Atlanta fans and the Cardinals fans out here, I'm not going to mention how terrible they're doing this year because we respect those fans. So, all right, so that's all I'm going to say. There we go. Okay, but before we get to any of those things, let's get to our must-have item of the week, which is there's an action picture of this, Allan, over on Facebook. You provided it this week. This thing looks like it's seen some action.
Oh, that thing!
This thing looks like
it's been through the wars.
Almost ready for a replacement, but it's still working. So I guess tell people what I'm holding up here.
It is in your terms, Joe, it would be a Batman utility pouch.
Yeah.
Basically, it is just a small Kevlar tool or utility pouch, and it is basically because I hate to walk.
Wait a minute, hold on. This is Kevlar. It looks like it's canvas.
Actually, it is much heavier duty than canvas.
It's like old school Kevlar.
Yes.
Oh,
like
nice.
35 years ago Kevlar.
This thing clips onto the belt. Now you've loaded this up. Okay.
Yes.
It's got a lot. Everything on it is functional. You've got a little what are these little clips that if you had to clip something I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
On the bottom it's got Velcro. It's got a little slide here. You could not put a hammer, but you could put something.
Especially like a long flathead pry bar slips into that perfectly.
Yeah. But I see you've got your micro screwdrivers. You got a box cutter. You've got a adjustable. Well, not an adjustable. Gosh, what is this thing? This is a ratcheting screwdriver.
All right, that is a multi-tip ratcheting micro screwdriver.
You got the Allen wrench set.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the biggie is you've got this, it looks like a Swiss Army knife, but if you unfold it, it's got pliers.
Yep, and I got a nice
scissors.
multi-tool right there in the center.
Now, I have to ask, Allan, because you told me off the air that these didn't come with the bag.
Nope.
You curated it, and so I'd like to ask the why behind your curation.
Because, all right, well, last night's a perfect example. So I'm on somebody else's job site, and tools need to be adjusted all the time. You know, when you're actively working on a job site, you got to tighten stuff, loosen stuff, move things around. Halfway through the night, guess what? One of the major tile saws had to be adjusted. Now everybody's looking for a hex key. Guess what? I got a hex key on me. Okay, we need to open these boxes. We need to cut these straps. Well, wait a minute. I already got a box cutter. We need to get in here between these two tiles and scrape out this tiny little bit of mastic. Well, I got a micro flathead screwdriver on me. So just over the years, the things that make me crazy is having to stop what I'm doing, walk back to the shop, walk back to the truck, walk back to the tool shed to get a tool that weighs ounces.
That you could just keep in your pocket.
If it was on my person, and this really kicks in when you're up and down ladders.
Oh, yeah, because think of how much travel you've just done.
The amount of up and down ladders I watch everybody else do. I get up there and I need to scrape off one tiny little bit of paint off of something. All right, guess what? I got a couple of micro screwdrivers. I need a knife. Well, I got a multi-tool. I need to do quite a bit of cutting or trimming. Well, I got a box cutter. And none of this weighs very much, but when you're up there, it makes all the difference in the world in just the sheer amount of downtime that you spend walking to go get something and coming back.
I see, when I'm looking at this, I see years of accumulated wisdom because I'm thinking, okay, for such a small pouch, it really does have a lot of things in here that you probably need when you're on at your facilities too. Because one thing I know about these, because if you don't know, one of the things Allan's one of your duties is making sure that healthcare facilities are running properly, and a lot of times there's a shop all the way at the very end of the building, and if you forget
like
that
an
one
acre
thing,
away,
that's a pain, man. And so
this is accumulated wisdom, but also accumulated inconvenience.
Yes.
And pain.
So I don't know, man. This little multi-tool. I don't know that I've seen one of these. It's got pliers. It is sort of like a fold-out Swiss Army knife, but it's pliers. And the pliers seem to have a nice
they got
a nice grip to them,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
don't wobble. You know how like with some needle nose pliers, there's like a wobbling where
Yes.
when you clamp it, they go crooked, and it doesn't give you that good grip. But
No, those bad boys, and you can strip wire. So I mean, once you're up on that ladder and you're in the middle of that job, you should not have to come off that ladder.
yeah. Okay, but it's very good, man. So, all right. Well, there we go. The must-have item of the week. So, all right. Well, here we go. Let's recap before we move on. We have to. So, oh, very good, Max. So you've got your sound effects ready. Well, that is not unlike what I heard. So last week, if you didn't hear, I was getting ready to come to the show. So it's early morning on Saturday. It's quiet outside, and I'm in the bathroom, and I hear this kind of like what Max just played. It was like a prolonged bolt of lightning, but a little bit quieter.
It's alive.
Yeah. And then I saw a flash, like in the distance somewhere, and I really couldn't tell if it's, my first concern was, oh my gosh, is my house on fire? I didn't know.
Right.
It was difficult to tell where the sound came from. And so the first thing I did when I got out of there is I walked around the whole house. I went and looked at our wiring. I made sure nothing looked out of place. I didn't smell anything burning.
Right.
It was very odd. But when I got outside to head off to work, I saw a fire truck, and they were outside, and they were pointing up at like a telephone pole, and they were pointing at a box that I thought was the source of the problem. Well,
Nope.
after and we talked about that on the show, and we were speculating as to what it was. I'm pretty sure you hit the mark as to what it was, but we couldn't confirm it. Well, it's now been confirmed, and I've got the sickening details when we come back, and a call to action for our listeners. So stand by, everybody. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Did somebody say boom?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Wow, it's like Max is psychic here. And welcome back to
I think
Tool
it's
Talk.
psychotic. I think it's psychotic.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, the very astute Max. And boy, okay, this is if there's ever a moment to go over to Tool Talk Radio's Facebook page, go to @Tool Talk Radio. Man, I was tasteful enough to only put some of the physical evidence left behind from the blast last week.
I would have preferred everything.
No. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to ruin people's breakfast or get PETA, after me or anything. But so, folks, if you're just tuning in, a recap. I discovered after getting home from the show, the first thing I did was I went over and investigated this the source of this weird electrical frying that I heard last Saturday morning. And Allan, so here it is. We have one of the telephone poles, which is where the firemen were pointing. There is what are those little pylons on top? Are they called transformers, or are they called? They're like probably a foot tall each. They're spaced out about, I don't know what.
Well, that's a
18
load
inches apart.
That's actually a load balancer. It's a series of transformers.
Oh, okay. Okay, because right there, after I had a chance to walk up and look at it, it's a pretty new telephone pole. Like they had replaced it probably a year or two ago. Well, it was all shiny and new except for one spot. There was some. It was probably, and I took pictures, folks, and it's right there on our Facebook page. You can see the evidence left behind. There is like a black scorch mark, and it's probably a good 3 to 4 feet tall, and it encompasses that whole area there. Well, directly beneath at the bottom of the post
was the remains.
Basically it was the remains of it was definitely a squirrel, and I got to see what happens when a squirrel.
Yeah, we're gonna miss Bernie.
That was my vote for name.
Yeah, gets electrocuted, and it was pretty clear what happened. It looked like the squirrel had what? Okay, now this is what I can't figure out. Did like the tail hit one thing and maybe his paw hit the other or something? So what happened? Because it went on for 3 to 4 seconds, and then there was a poof.
All right,
So
well,
is that what
this-
kicked him off the post
Well,
or something?
this is an important lesson because what happened to him can also happen inside your home,
Yeah.
especially with old wall sockets and stuff like that. He created a short circuit.
Or she. We don't know.
Well,
I didn't
we're
examine
gonna say
closely.
it.
So,
Bernie would be male. Bernice would be female.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we're going to say it.
Okay.
It got between two current carrying entities
Yeah.
and created a short circuit across them. Now, to give you the power of a short circuit, we have an entire building technology based on creating a short circuit, and it's called welding.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because that is an intense.
If you think about it,
Contact
the
when- yeah.
tip, the very tip where the contact is being made between the welding material, the electrical current, and the item to be welded, that particular point on certain welders can be as hot as the surface of the sun.
That's what is that, like 8,000 degrees?
It is, depending upon the type of welding you're doing, you are generating thousands of degrees.
Right.
So
yeah.
any professional welder out there right now is nodding, going, yeah, you don't want to play with that.
And what I remember about welding too is because I did a little of it in my youth, and I realized I don't like all
You
the
didn't want to play with
smoke.
that.
I didn't. Well,
Right.
it's just anyway. But you can't look at it; it'll blind you if you
Yes.
don't have those goggles on
Yes,
and everything.
yes, it will.
So it's not only creating this heat; it's creating a bright. I mean, like the sun, you can't look at the sun,
It
and you
is
can't
a
look at a welding.
bright flash. And basically what happened here is you have two entities carrying current.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it's a bad idea to stick a screwdriver in a wall socket,
Right.
because now you are creating a short circuit and you're passing power through your body.
Yeah.
You become a semiconductor.
That
Okay.
reminds me of when I was a kid or like maybe a teenager, and I had the interesting experience of creating a short circuit myself where my parents have an oven and a stove combination where they have to unplug and replug one or the other when you want to use them. And I had the interesting experience of experiencing that electricity as I was plugging the big plug in, and it just felt like a tingle almost, so to say. And then my arm just recoiled.
Yeah. You wouldn't have been tingling if you got too close of a contact. on
Well,
that.
now the difference is
Oh,
that
my
was
gosh.
120 volts with 60 hertz and no more than 15 amps. What your dear rodent neighbor felt
Yeah.
was probably in the 440 volts and probably closer to 100 amps.
Am I correct in remembering that it's not the volts that kill you, it's the amps?
That is correct. But you have three ratings that go hand in hand. You have the impedance or the resistance to movement.
Yeah.
You have amperage and voltage. Voltage is what wants to carry it down the line. Amperage is basically what does the work. And impedance is what tries to slow things down.
Right.
Just kind of a quickie. So when the unfortunate rodent interceded in the transformer and created a short socket or a short circuit, its resistance in its body is what created the arc and the flash and probably a lot of burning hair and
He
the
didn't look good,
eventual
man.
demise
Well,
of the rodent.
I took a picture and I sent it to you, but I'm not going to post it because
No,
that's tasteless. But it was pretty bad, and I was just like, okay. But the odd thing was, it was. Well, never mind. I don't want to get too. People are eating their breakfast, but the thing is, a squirrel when there's no fur on the tail looks an awful lot like a rat.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it
'cause they
looks
are.
exactly
They
like
are.
a
They're
rat.
They're just cute rats.
But in honor of this fallen hero, I think one of the calls to action today for our listeners is we need a nickname for this creature to memorialize him in, because this is something I'm never going to forget. But yeah. But Max, your vote was what? What was your vote again?
Bernie. But like burn, B-U-R-N-I-E.
Well, if you've got any ideas for a good nickname for this, like we said, for this creature, just you can call or text at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. And so, okay. But I thought that warranted, a
this
follow-up
is-
report. So,
This is why the electrical health of your home is important, because, like you said, you have that little junction between what the city provides, or MLG&W provides, and your home, and it comes in through a weather-all connection.
Right.
And a pipe coming down that goes to the breaker box. And, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to, we're kind of getting into the season where people like to buy houses. Really, honestly, get a home inspector and make sure they go through that breaker box and that weather-all and that outside connection good, because, well, these are very serious things.
And I would say, too, just after my experience with all this stuff is, make sure there's not things growing right up next to the wires. Make sure there's not a tree limb.
Yeah, people love to
dangling
let those vines grow up on them. No, don't do that.
This thing needs to be secure.
It needs to be clean.
And I suppose if you see any kind of burn marks or scorch marks, that's a warning sign.
Well, and let me also throw in, this is why you don't want to release, especially Mylar balloons.
Oh,
because they will also create a short circuit between the lines.
there we go.
We got our first name.
What do we got?
Robbie, thank you. Sparky.
Sparky. Okay, yeah, All right, we'll put that on the list. So I guess we'll vote later. But okay, so we got Bernie and Sparky. If you've got any ideas, today's the day to do it. So, but this creature has to be immortalized. So, okay. Well, man, we got a whole roster here. When we come back, actually, Max has some metalworking. He's in a metalworking conundrum, and he needs your help, Allan.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This thing is a mess.
We used to have 3 carts, actually. The first one got pushed into the creek by some kids. The second one, raccoons got onto. There was urine everywhere. And the third one was recently stolen.
What's this one?
This is the second one, the raccoon one.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those. Max spends way too much time on the internet. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, it's been this is a reason to just go back and listen to the podcast version. We can't recap. It's already too full. But Allan, if people do want to listen to the podcast, I suppose.
Absolutely. Please do pop over to tooltalkradio.com. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are distributed.
Okay, sounds good. Well, in a minute, we're going to find out. We have Max has some metalworking. He has a metalworking conundrum.
Okay.
But however, the text line has been activated as we thought it would. What do we got, Max?
We have several nickname suggestions.
Okay, wait, let me just recap, because some people might have just tuned. If you just tuned in, we discovered last week that the cause of that weird electrical flash outside my home was a squirrel that really, I mean, at least it was quick, Allan.
He joined the choir invisible.
And
yes.
I found indisputable proof that that's what it was, because the poor creature was scorched beyond recognition at the bottom of the telephone pole. And now we want to immortalize this fallen hero with a nickname. And so far we're up to Crispy. Crispy was my wife's vote. Bernie, which is Max's vote, and Sparky, which is Robbie's vote. So what else? What do we got now?
Flash, thanks to Jared.
I'm sorry, to my
Flash is
Flash, I always want to go,
okay.
like it's a 80s hit song.
Flash is appropriate. What else we got?
This one, thank you, Texter 2315. Joules with 2 U's.
Yes,
Joules.
as in a electrical measurement.
Oh, now that's a deep cut. Okay,
that's a good double one.
How do you spell that, Max? I'm writing
that
it down.
would be J-O.
It'd be J-U-U-L-E-S.
There you
J-U-U-L-E-S. Okay. All right. Cool. There's a cool song by Amy Mann, or Andy. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about her. But anyway, very good. And I think we got a text about something about the dangers of welding, which. Thank you for the text, listener. It's a little dark. That story's a little dark for a
Well, yeah, you
fun
got to make
Saturday
sure
morning
everything
show.
is properly grounded. Appropriate, but yeah, make sure you're properly grounded, especially around welding equipment.
Who sent that, Max, though? Because
Our buddy Keith Babb.
Keith, thanks for the text, but we'll probably, if we talk about welding in the future, which we definitely will.
We definitely will.
We're definitely going to remember that. So thanks for chiming in with that. But it was sort of the darker side of what happened. So, but,
electricity is going to do what electricity that he wants to do. So you got to be careful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, are we caught up on our text now, man?
We just got one
from
anonymous texter 0485. They recommended Blaze.
Blaze. Okay. That's a good one. I like that. Blaze. We got some pretty good names. And it's funny that everybody's just giving one-word names. You can give, sir, whatever. You can add as many words to this as you want.
I got another one. Sergio.
Surge, like surge protect. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Sergio Leone.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Max is he's on a roll.
Yep.
Sergio.
Nothing
okay.
wakes up Memphis like a little roast rodent.
Yeah. And you said, people do eat squirrel.
Why are you looking at me like that, Joe?
Well, we know you brown gravy.
Brown gravy and onions, man. You can eat almost anything.
And it's funny because not that long ago in our history, squirrels were a popular pet, which makes no sense to me. What would that be like having squirrels in your home? I mean,
if you're Bob Ross,
I don't know, man.
Cats.
In It's a Wonderful Life, we know Uncle Billy had a squirrel. We saw it right there running across the desk. But that was I guess it's a free pet. You just go outside and bring a rabbit.
Not exactly. You have to raise it.
It sounds like a dumb idea.
Yeah, you have to raise it. Again, wild animals make really bad pets.
Raccoons too. I don't care how cute you think they are.
Pets.
They're awful pets.
Yeah, really
they're
bad
dangerous.
pets.
So
yeah.
Okay. Well, keep them coming, folks. There's some pretty good ones out there on the table. So, and don't forget, today is also, National Garage Day. We should celebrate the garage.
I'd like to see your best pictures of some of your coolest garage projects or like your coolest garage layouts.
Oh, yeah. And especially, I've seen some pretty cool garage organizers and garage flooring and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot on the table. It's going to keep going. So, but before we get to Max's concerns about metalworking, we want to talk about our friends over at Groundworks because, let's face it, when it comes to the foundation of your home, it's hugely important. You need a healthy foundation for a healthy home. And there's nobody better to help you with all of your foundation issues than Groundworks. Well, and as we say, the problems with your foundation can manifest themselves in unique ways. You might have if you have a crawl space and you have this one area when you walk, there's an odd squeaking, or you can almost feel the floor sinking. Or if you have those musty smells in different parts of your house, or there's stair-step cracks on the brick or the siding of your home, or even crooked doors that don't close properly. All of these can be an indication of a foundation problem, and you can't ignore these. Unfortunately, there's some things we'd like to just not think about in our lives, but the foundation of your home is hugely important. And the good news is Groundworks, for one thing, they can handle any of your foundation problems, but also the consultation is free. So if you even suspect that you have any issues, or maybe you just need a checkup and you just want to confirm, for your own peace of mind, get in touch with the folks at Groundworks and schedule a free consultation today. It's very comprehensive. They're going to check everything. And if you do have any issues, they'll have a plan ready to go for you. So go to groundworks.com and schedule your free appointment today. All right, so Max, I'm just getting ready to post. I'll have the pictures posted by our next break. But you have So tell us the nature of this problem. Oh gosh.
Well, my best friend gifted me a long time ago a sword that I have lovingly called Verndari, which is the Icelandic word for protector.
How do you spell that?
Verndari.
Okay.
So Verndari has seen better days and has seen much combat, and so. He's got chips. He's got chips on on certain parts of the metal where the artistry of the handle is kind of come undone or chipped and broken. There's rust on the bottom of the blade, and the scabbard itself is just it's a hopeless cause. I might need to get a new scabbard.
Okay. I happen to know she bought this, I think you told me, probably at a convention, right? I mean,
some sort of convention or some sort of event, yeah.
Probably like the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention.
Okay.
Sometimes. So, Alan, we're not talking about like a, $5,000 sword here.
But it's still sentimental.
Right.
But you got rust. So does it matter to you how sharp this thing is? Or
no, I just want to try to get it looking back to its former glory, even if it means a little bit of kintsugi action.
Okay. I'm curious though. Why would a blade rust like that? If
Oh,
it
yeah.
Was,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're going to turn this into a how to take care of old tools. Because you have the same problem here that I have when I tearing down a barn and find that 150-year-old saw that I'm going to keep. So, number one, rust. Let's start with one of my favorite critters in the entire world, and that is Triflow oil. You can find it at any hardware store. Any of the big box stores has it. And you also need a good microfiber cloth, and that lets you get in there and really start rubbing, getting this rubbing action in. And if you actually have a clamp that you can lock stuff down with, and if you remember an old shoe shine from a movie where they got the cloth going really fast back and forth, that is one of the best ways of shining up and dealing with any minor rust issues.
Because the way the rust is laid out here is it's almost kind of like a scab.
Yes, exactly. Now, as far as any tool that has chips and edges, if you are looking at, let's say, a saw, and I hate to tell you, but if all the teeth in your saw are lined up perfectly, nice and even, your saw doesn't cut very well. And that is because if you look at a modern saw, you look at a brand new shiny one at the store, the teeth, each tooth is slightly offset from the other. So they kind of make a right, left, right, left, right, left, very slight pattern, which gives you the actual cutting action. For this is going to be more like a utility knife. If you've actually got any bad areas, you may need of a very, very light hand with a Dremel tool and grind down, especially if you've got a bend in the lip or edge. You can grind that out. You can also tap them out with a hammer, get it just ting, 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 just a little bit, but you will need a decent piece of metal underneath it so you got something to work against.
Now, how about for dust and everything that's accumulated over time, and kind of giving it that spit shine, so to say?
Well, that is WD-40 and a good rag, and wear a pair of gloves. If you just want to shine up a tool, get it in better shape. Really, honestly, nothing works better than a good coat of WD-40.
And the nice thing about the WD-40 I have at my house, it has the multi-option where it's like it has either the wide spray or the concentrated.
Yes, and that way, with the tiny little concentrate, you can get down in areas and that kind of stuff. Now, another thing you run into a lot with a lot of different tools is that it usually has a wooden handle. And wooden handles respond just like furniture. So you can get you some furniture cleaner or, furniture spray cleaner or any of the oils that people use on good furniture work perfectly well on the wooden handles of your tools.
Now, how about the topic of the scabbard?
That is going to be right over into leather work. There are a number of tools out there, especially if you have tool belts, which is normally a really nice, good, heavy leather. This is where your friends with horses. I'm having trouble saying the equestrian word today. This is where any good leather and tack, soap and care materials kick in, so you can keep the leather on your tools looking good.
Okay. Hey, and while you guys were chatting, I got it posted. So if you want to go to at Tool Talk Radio on Facebook, you can see Max's battle sword and the issues at hand. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Sorry about the mess. I've really let the place go since you killed me. By the way, thanks for that.
Sarcasm self-test complete.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, it's been sort of an action-packed morning. On a more civilized side, today is National Garage Day, so we would love your photos or stories of maybe, fun times in the garage. I don't know. I love being in the garage. You can work, you can be. I find the garage is one of the most creative spaces in the house for me.
Did you want to hear the quick backstory of the Henry Ford thing? Because I feel like this ties in pretty well with that Allan did this week.
Okay, give me 1 second because I want to set the table properly. We'll hit that in 1 second, Max. Also, if you're just tuning in, you should know that we found the source of the electrical blast from last week that happened. It was caused by a squirrel. A squirrel. Who we are in the hunt for a good nickname. This squirrel was basically vaporized. His remains were laying at the bottom of the telephone pole, Alan, and he left a scorch mark about 4 feet tall on the telephone pole. Mm-hmm. But I do have a quick question about this because so far we've got some pretty good suggestions. We've got Crispy, Blaze, Bernie, Surge, EO, Sparky, Flash, Jules. The Jules one's a deep cut. You have to know about electricity for that. But, Alan, you told me that like with welding equipment, for example, when because we use basically that's what welding is. You purposely make this electrical connection and it gets as hot as the sun. Mm-hmm. Well, did this poor squirrel become as hot as the sun in his final moments? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me?
His hair probably did.
Oh, my gosh. An 8,000 degree squirrel.
Let's just say the last thought that went through his mind was "foomp."
Okay. Yeah. I mean, at least it was quick. But this
quick is a good word for it.
This fallen hero needs a name. So we're still accepting submissions. Doesn't have to be a one-word nickname either. You could have as long of a name as you need. But so that's on the table, and there's a lot more. So okay, Max, go ahead.
So let's go backwards a little first. So in 1921, C.G. Johnson invented the first overhead door, which we still use today. But the previous origins for the first garage door, other than like Allan said, it was carriage houses and stables, but those were untenable. There's a story where Henry Ford was working in his shed on a quadricycle, a four-wheeled bicycle that functioned without a horse, and he soon realized that the vehicle was too big for him to get out of his workshop, and so he knocked down part of the shed's brick wall, and in its place installed what you would consider an early version of the garage door.
That's funny. Wait a minute. I mean, so it didn't. I mean, I think we've seen cartoons based on that.
They got
Three
carried
Stooges
away
episodes about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's interesting that he made that rookie mistake. So, okay.
Well, I mean, it's not a rookie mistake if no one's ever done it before.
I get maybe he didn't realize how wide the axles were going to be.
Mistake. Yeah.
Okay. And is that sort of an accepted origin of where the garage came from? Or
I suppose you could say so. I think the carriages and the stables are the more accepted ones because it's like, all right, it's a pretty easy transition, but then you have the Henry Ford story.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I love being in the garage. It's just, it's a good place to, like I said, it's the most creative space in the house for me. So, okay. So if you're out there and you're a garage aficionado, especially if you got a really nice garage or, maybe not so nice, but I'm sure it's been the birthplace of many home projects that you could share as well.
Or the final resting place.
Yeah. I'm just curious what it is about the garage that lends itself to being the place of creativity or, let's just say, at a columbarium.
Well, I can answer that one for you because it's not inside the house.
Right.
What happens out here is on a concrete floor.
And it's the perfect intersection between inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true because you can. Well, another thing, Max.
You're out of the rain, but you're not in the house.
One of my favorite things to do is when you can be in the garage and the weather is good enough and there's not that many mosquitoes out where you can be working, especially like if I'm working on my lathe. I have it set there by the door. It's open. You're getting a nice little fresh breeze. I might be listening to a Cubs game on my headphones while I'm doing that. And you can't get any better than that, Max. That's as good as it gets. So. And you don't have to worry about dust getting anywhere. It just,
The only thing that leapt to mind was silence is golden, but it's okay.
Anyway, so, and I forgot, boy, we're all over the map, but I forgot to tease. And so let's mention one more thing. In honor of this electrical event at our house last week, for our Great Moments in Building History, it's a very humble construction that we're going to be celebrating here shortly. It's called the Nutty Narrows Bridge, but it actually is part of a bigger conversation. It's in. It was built in 1963, and it's in Washington State. And it actually, I don't know if this was the first such construction of its kind, but in honor of our fallen squirrel, we're going to talk about that. So, but okay, are we caught up now, Max? I think we're caught up with texters, and
we might have to just consider this a tease till we get back from the break.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's tease it, but let's get to
the humanity.
Let's get a sense of what Allan did this week. And man, I don't know how you got to it all. You sent me the photo evidence, and it looked busy, man. So
well, we're gonna start with a throwback to 40 Years of Stupid. Of in this house,
I thought it was
we're
30
finishing
years
out.
Of stupid, but
well, this one's more like 110.
Oh. Okay, you're splitting the difference. So.
Well, there's one part of the house, and we're turning it into a spa. So it's gonna have a full walk-in, roll-in, shower, double vanity, and all this kind of stuff. But this particular part of the building was, I do believe, patterned after, I would have to say, either a roller coaster or a amusement park fun house. Because
nothing was level.
Nothing was even remotely level. You would actually get kind of a weird motion sickness because nothing in this room went the same direction.
Now, I got to ask, if this was the result, like if the flooring and stuff was the result of water damage warping the wood, why would you make a spa there? Because that's going to have exposure to more water.
Well, we fixed the reasons for all that.
Oh, okay.
So that has been done, and this is the perfect place for a spa, but this was a lot of reverse engineering up to and including being under the house with, house jacks, moving things into level areas, making sure they're reinforced, sistering up additional lumber to make sure things are intact, double reinforcing the actual pan below the shower to make sure that you're not going to take a shower and go visit the sub-basement. So, a good bag and a half of floor leveler to get there. And then once all of that was done, then actually resurfacing with an additional subfloor.
Just a lot of, you talk about squirrely, man. I mean,
But I did send you a picture of the entrance to the walk-in, roll-in shower.
Right.
And now that we've done all that, it's starting to look fantastic. And now we're actually ready to make this happen.
It just needed orthodontic work.
Yeah,
gosh,
needed major surgery. All right, well, we're gonna find out the rest of this exciting story when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And what a whirlwind first hour of Tool Talk Radio we've had. To quote the great Art Bell, let's recap. I don't know. He used to say that in a great way. He used to, let's recap. You ever hear that?
Yep.
What a classic guy he was. But anyway, today is National Garage Day. We're looking for photos and we're looking for happy memories from the garage. A lot of things, a lot of important moments happen in a garage, Allan, and I think it's worthy of celebration. Also, there is a call to action. We discovered that the cause of that great electrical blast outside of my home last week was actually caused by a squirrel. I saw the remains of this squirrel. Apparently, according to Allan, this squirrel reached the temperature of the sun when he or she
didn't reach it long.
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, reached the connected the two, whatever he connected together, and went out in a blaze of glory. And so, in honor of this great squirrel, we're looking for suggestions for nicknames. We have quite a few out on the table, including Blaze, Crispy, Bernie, Sparky, Sergio, Flash, and Jules. So that's out there on the table. We have a lot. We have a lot to get to, but we were in the middle of an epic tale. Allan, you couldn't pay me enough to do this job you've been working on. You've been building now the kitchen build is great. It looked very civilized, looked very easy. But this bathroom is out of control, man. You're building a bathroom, for one thing, it's completely out of level, as you've been telling us. And then you're working with these 2 foot by 4 foot, half-inch thick terracotta tiles that are going 9 feet up the wall.
Right.
Forget it, man. I'm done. You no way.
That is bathroom number 2. That's the bathroom with the tub.
Yeah. Are you just a glutton for punishment, or just? Is just? I got to give you credit, man. You're going for it, but that.
I got to tell you, the last tile, the one that went all the way up to the 9 foot level, was 3 people, 3 ladders, and language your grandmother would not have approved of.
Yeah, I have no doubt of that.
Oh, my gosh. I got to tell you, though, when we discussed this project on the front end, everybody knew this was going to be a flaming pain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing about this that's easy. And
we knew.
Did you try to discourage the homeowners from these radical choices?
I was curious because it was going to be such an epic build.
Yeah.
Nobody really tries to do stuff up like that. And I was actually looking forward to, all right, well, let's see what we get. I really want to see just how epic this came out. I did a spa probably 8 or 9 years ago now. That was a rescue job over an old boy that just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And we rolled in there and we put in all of these beautiful dark green marble finish tiles. And by the time we were done with this, it was absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. So, but I haven't done kind of an epic spa in a while. And I was just looking forward to it.
And you felt that was missing out of your life?
Man, I got news for you.
I could live my whole life without building an epic
I am
spa.
now totally over the experience at this point.
Are you kind of like a sadist where it's like, oh, I want a little bit of a fixer-upper. I like someone who's a piece of work.
Well, but this is just one of those challenges that comes along and you kind of go, oh, why not? Let's try it.
I would have done this when I was 30. I wouldn't forget it, man. I think about hernias. I think
huge.
Okay.
It's huge.
Anyway.
But I got to tell you, and like I said, Joe, I'll send you a picture right now of the nearly finished wall. It hasn't been grouted yet.
Well, I posted so if you go to at Tool Talk Radio on Facebook, I did post a picture of these. I guess this is a roll-in shower. This is bathroom number 2.
Yeah, that's bathroom. All right, that's actually the spa.
Level.
Right,
yeah.
That's the spa.
Okay.
And that's after we completely leveled the floors, filled the floors, re-sheetrocked. Basically, we went in with plywood, half-inch ply, to give the floor the stability and the strength that it needed. Then we went over and leveled it, and then we put yet another half-inch layer on top of it to bring everything up to the level of the shower so we could actually have a true walk-in, roll-in shower.
Okay.
My question is after all this, like I said, like this orthodontic work on like the foundation and stuff, what would you say is sort of the veritable retainer to keep the work from it coming undone again?
Well, the thing is, we started with the underpinning. We went under it. The biggest thing was make sure that everything, because this is not a slab install. This is of a crawl space install. So, all right, picture this, Max. I am under the house with 2x4s, my drill, the long screws and everything. We're ready to go. And, we're just shouting back and forth between the floor. And periodically, fingers are popping out of drains like, all right, I'm right here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's the other part. You wouldn't catch me in a crawl space. That's claustrophobic. That's
but the end result, I think, was totally worth it.
Okay.
Because when we actually get this one finished, because the spa is actually going to have a bamboo-style tile. going
bamboo. I'm trying to picture that.
lengthwise, and it's actually a textured tile designed to look like bamboo slatting. And I cannot wait to start getting this stuff up on the wall. Now,
Wait. How
the
big
tiles
is this
in
stuff?
this are half the size of the Indian tiles we did in the other bathroom.
That's not small. That's still, what, 2 feet by 1 foot?
Yeah, it's still big, but
I mean, at
it's
least that's
not
a little better,
2x4. I mean, those other tiles were just massive.
Yeah. Okay.
So heavy.
Yeah.
But, for the walk-in spa, believe it or not, the spa is actually much less surface area than what we did in the other bathroom.
Well, I saw, I mean,
The other bathroom was just absolutely massive.
Wait,
so,
when you say a spa, are you talking about like a sauna or something?
Yeah, we're talking it's going to have a toilet on the far end, got all that in and done and leveled. Now, you were asking, why did I leave that white pipe 6 feet in the air?
Well, if you look at
and I'm gonna throw in for anybody listening, if you're gonna do a bathroom project like that, do not be afraid to go get you a cap or some additional piping so that you can get the exit, your drain, up away from anywhere anybody can drop any mastic or concrete or wall goop, anything down the drain.
You just triggered me, Allan, because folks, if you here's I couldn't agree more. Here's my thing. Like, you've been on bathroom remodels or something, and you've probably been on jobs where maybe, or even a kitchen remodel, but there's several trades working in the same space, and maybe one guy's going to come in and do the sheetrock, one person's going to do whatever. Nothing annoys me more than when you have either anything to do with plumbing, when you have like a water line or a drain line where it's just open and it's collecting debris and it's collecting whatever. It's like, it's so easy to prevent it. You just, I'll go through the trouble of taping it shut or wrapping it or protecting it, because why do you want a water line filling up with drywall dust and then you go to hook up the plumb, and it's stupid. To me, that's just rookie, amateur, I don't know. That stuff bugs me. So I'm glad you were thinking that way,
well,
too.
the worst thing ever, and the reason I remember that is a number of years ago, we were doing another rescue job behind a contractor that failed to finish the job. And we're getting in there. For some reason, this poor guy could not install a drain to save his life.
Okay.
Couldn't do it.
Well, then. Yeah.
So, all right. So we go back in and chip out all the bad work. And before we did anything, I said, all right, go get me a catch cage to put on the Roto-Rooter. Okay. So we're gonna run this thing. We're gonna run the drain cleaner down through it before we get started.
Well,
Dude,
it's nice and open and easy to access.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
We pulled screwdriver handles out of the drains.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, broken tools and pieces of drywall and pieces of just junk and stuff that was all going to wind up eventually blocking up the plumbing at some point.
Sorry, but you really did trigger me, because think about it. One screw with a little jagged edge. Think of every time any
how much
piece
hair
of hair
that can
or
catch.
anything, and it's going to be a continual problem, because I guarantee when you go to flush that drain out, that screw's never going anywhere. It's going to just kind of
it's going to move down 10 feet further more and then start over again.
So it's just stupid. You're causing yourself a lot of problems just by being lazy and not, preventing this stuff. So.
Yeah, so the reason everybody's kind of like, well, why do you leave the pipes, why did you even put the pipe in that big? And I'm like going, trust me, it saves you so much pain down the line.
Yeah, yeah.
Cap this stuff off so that you can't make a mistake, and you will be much happier with yourself.
Okay. Well, the good news is this is an ongoing adventure. I mean, you don't need soap opera drama for, we got it here on Tool Talk Radio. We're going to keep following the progress of this bathroom, Allan, and providing the photo evidence over on Facebook. So, okay. Well, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm not going to tell we got to figure out what we're going to get to next, Allan.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Oh, I cannot believe a pipe burst and left that there.
There's no burst pipe.
How do you know that? What is it then?
Hey guys, somebody making soup?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And what a mixed bag we have today. Hey, in a minute, I have a tool tale, but Max, you said somebody called in while we were talking, right?
Well, in answer to my humble entreaty about helping with my sprucing up my best friend's sword that they gave me, they recommended, with regards to knocking off rust, a vinegar bath.
So you wash, what does that mean? Do you soak it in vinegar, Allan, or is it just like you rub it? So vinegar will get rid of rust on a blade?
Well, when you're talking about getting rust off of stuff, so let's say here's your perfect example ever of you're cleaning out an old home or something like that. You're doing work behind grandma's house, and you find the cast iron collection of cookware that hasn't been touched or cooked with in forever. Well, this is where a little bit of a 50-50 solution of white vinegar and water will help get rid of the rust.
Interesting.
So you get to soak it in that for a while and give it a nice little scrub with possibly a little, a good scrub brush of some kind, or possibly even steel wool. And, there you go.
Okay. What was the caller's name, Max?
Larry.
All right,
Thank you,
Larry. Thanks for the good suggestion. And also, if you've got any really cool weaponry like Max does, send us pictures. We'd like to see how you maintain it and how you display everything.
And I just want to say, as a little bit of an aside for Larry, he says that he does this because he works on automotive stuff.
Oh, yes. So he's constantly figuring out how to get rust out. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks, Larry.
And he's 77 and still learning, and I like that.
Exactly. That's why. Okay, cool. That's the kind of people we salute, man. All right, well let's shift gears here.
And now, Tool Tales with Tool Talk Radio.
I don't know if this is a tool tale, Allan, but whatever. I mean, so I faced some challenges this week, but they were nowhere they weren't even in your league. These were more of a, okay, let me just tell you what happened. So I got out of the wallpaper game probably 15 years ago. When you first start off as a contractor, you know how it is. You say yes to everything. Yeah. Can you do this? Oh, yeah, I can do that. You want to be like the one-stop shop.
I have to ask, with regards to wallpapering, because I've seen instances where walls, if they accumulate water, the paint can kind of separate from the wall, from the wall itself. Does wallpaper have an even worse problem with that?
Well, and it all depends on the quality. There's all levels of quality of wallpaper too, Max.
Yep.
And there's all different patterns. So, some wallpaper, okay, like for example, perfect example. I remember these from the 70s. Gosh, were they hideous. Vertical striped wallpaper. You know what I mean, Allan?
Painfully.
Well, so it doesn't matter. The pattern is vertical. So you can basically, Max, you can take a piece of wallpaper, you cut it off, then you start the next one and match it side by side. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of wallpaper where the pattern, all wallpaper, as far as I know, has a repeating pattern. But sometimes that pattern might repeat every 8 inches or 10 inches or 4 feet or whatever. And depending on how often the pattern repeats, there's more waste, there's more math you have to do and everything. So my customer had this wallpaper, and it's for this epic laundry room that we're doing. And there's a wall that she wanted to accent with this wallpaper. And so it's only like, I don't know, there's a bent. The thing's like, we're talking like 6 feet tall by about 7 feet wide. It is not a big space with a window in the middle. And she had this wallpaper, and she was just determined to use it. And I said, well, okay. So, I was happy to just let her call a wallpaper hanger. I didn't really have any interest in doing it. And so she goes, she called a professional. He came out and he said, there's not enough paper here to do this. The way the pattern repeats, he goes, I'm sorry, I just can't do this for you. And so she was really disappointed because apparently, Allan, this wallpaper cost $2,000 a roll. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
$2,000. I'm like, okay, this world has changed since. I'm used to paper that maybe cost $40 a roll.
I've even seen silk wallpaper.
I mean, that's insane.
Anything can be a wallpaper.
Well, if there's decorators out there, because I'm not used to that. For one thing, I haven't hung, like I said, I literally haven't hung any wallpaper in 15 years because it was so tedious. And Max, it was a lot of the problems you talked about. Sometimes you get a wallpaper that you do the least thing to it and it tears and you're constantly whatever.
I'm just wondering what the appeal is or was. It's like I just don't like the idea of like some sort of like veneer coating on like a wall. Just do like what the weird Baroque people did and just paint it on the wall yourself.
Well, I mean, everybody's got their own taste, and I mean, a lot of I think there is a little bit of a resurgence, and some people are going back to wallpaper.
Some people are going back to wallpaper. We had it kind of died out for a while. Now it's kind of catching back on. Again, all different levels of paper, from the cheapest possible stuff at your local super discount store to insane levels.
Well, so here's the thing. So here's what it is. And so, Allan, you and I guess, have a similar spirit, because when she said that the professional said he couldn't do it, I suddenly felt this new interest in this stuff. And she goes, man, I'm really disappointed. I wish, and these are the nicest people you could ever work for. I love these guys. They're just, John and Amy, super nice people. And I'm like, well, I don't want her to be disappointed. I got to come up with a solution. And so suddenly I felt like I wanted to do this. And so I was examining the wallpaper, and I was okay, on the upside, it is a really busy pattern. There are things everywhere going on in this pattern, and it's not like a pattern of like, something like a flower or a castle or something. So it was abstract. And I was thinking, I bet I could use that to my advantage. And so what I did is I took all the paper, and for one thing, now that I knew it was $2,000 a roll, I had to be before I started cutting anything, I didn't want to.
Very judicious.
But what I did was I started to sort of map it out, and I laid it out on a big flat surface. And I discovered that if I strategically cut along this pattern, like kind of like we were talking about, like the 10 Commandments movie set, like where they use forced perspective and they cut at certain things and drop in images. Well, I discovered that if I do that, it would be less obvious where I'm butting the paper together. And sure enough, man, it took a lot of geometry and a lot of like finagling. And I even had to get some colored magic markers and some paint and do a little faux finish on areas where it didn't quite match up.
Right.
And man, it came out great, actually. I got it all up there, saved her and it didn't really cost them that much money. And so, folks, I posted a picture of this wallpaper up on our Facebook page. And if you can find the seams, if you want to zoom in and tell me where the seams are, that's going to be our listener challenge. I don't know that I have a prize, but, maybe we have bragging rights. So if you can find the seams, I don't know, maybe take a screenshot and use your, like a little yellow marker or something and do it.
You can use go to like PowerPoint and get your little pen and draw on it. Right.
But it's one of those things where, there's nothing more, it's kind of like Sherlock Holmes said. He said there's nothing more stimulating than when a case is going against you at every turn. And it's like there's something about a challenge like that really gets you going. So
there's a quote that I read from, I can't remember, it's like a boxer or an athlete. They said, personally, adversity makes me hungrier. I thrive on being able to make a way out of no way.
Yeah, there's something about that. Like when somebody tells you can't do something, you immediately...
It's our human stubbornness in a good way.
Yeah, but a lot of times that's some of the best successes I've had are when somebody tells me I can't do it.
And sometimes you got to think outside the recognized box. And if you have something that's not going to work that way, that doesn't mean you can't lean into how it will work. Yeah. All right, so we're going to put up a couple of borders, or we're gonna break up an over pattern, which is gonna hide the seams, that kind of stuff. We worked on a house a while back that was using sheets of, the new concrete board,
right?
But we had seams everywhere, big glaring seams, and what we did was we just put them together in a way that we went back over it with more concrete board and made a decorative pattern.
There you go.
And so the seam was hidden, the seam was covered, and, it was all done out of concrete board, so it'll probably be good for the next 200 years.
And actually, if you think about it, there's been many things, including the founding of our country, that were said to be impossible that, wouldn't have happened without some. As soon as somebody tells you can't do it, man.
That's when it gets fun.
Yeah.
And it only took 30% of the people to kind of get on board with the revolution to actually found our country.
There you go. All right. Speaking of epic tales, when we come back in our great moments in building history, we're going to talk about an epic squirrel construction, the Nutty Narrows Bridge.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
If you need to go to the bathroom after this next series of tests, please let a test associate know, because in all likelihood, whatever comes out of you is going to be coal. Only temporary, so do not worry. If it persists for a week, though, start worrying and come see us, because that's not supposed to happen.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Max isn't allowed on the internet anymore. Okay. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I don't even know what I just heard. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the weird Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, I'm not recapping anything. It's just been out of control. But we will react because we got did we get another text suggestion in?
Yes, I guess we do sort of have to recap with regards to the, we're looking up names for our honored squirrel comrade.
Well, that's right. A squirrel bit the dust outside my home last night. It was fried. It reached the temperature of the sun when it ran across some telephone line. It ran across the electrical lines, connected two circuits, and I saw the corpse below.
Became an ex-squirrel.
And so in honor of this fallen hero, we're trying to come up with a suitable nickname so we can immortalize this creature on Tool Talk Radio.
Mine is Sergio, like Serge, and Bernie, like Burn.
Yeah. We have a lot here. Yep.
This one, thank you, Jack, by the way. In addition to a nickname for the beloved squirrel, how about the formal name, Squirrus Crisp Maximus? Because Squirrus is the Latin name or designation for squirrel.
Oh my gosh, that's at the top of the. See, that's what I mean. We don't have to have one word name. I'm gonna have to spell that.
Squirrus Crisp Maximus.
That's epic. That's
oh
suitable.
My goodness.
We need to taxidermy this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's very good. Jack, you said.
Thank you, Jack.
Jack's the front runner. Maybe we'll keep this contest open for a while, but okay. Was there anything else that
was it?
Okay, very well done, Jack.
I think that was enough.
That was a good one. So, all right. Well, and ironically enough, in our great moments in building history, we have another squirrel-related project that we're going to get to. Before we get to that, though, we want to talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling, who ironically, a few years back when he put a new roof on my house, solved my squirrel problem, because you know this, Allan, and then any longtime listener of Tool Talk knows that back before I met Jay Hill, among other problems with my roof, it was rampant. We had squirrels. Man, they found 50 different ways to try to get into our attic and everything.
Yeah, you were running condos. Yeah.
And Jay Hill came along and took care of that issue with the right roofing system and with closing up those gaps.
How's this song?
Okay. I mean, it sounds pretty good.
It's called Unleashed.
Unleashed. Okay.
I think it's good enough.
All right, that might be it. I don't know if we're ever going to find a good walk-up song for Jay. That's another ongoing challenge that we're facing. But when it comes to the exterior protection of your home, Jay Hill stands alone. He's all about, he specializes in roofing, gutters, siding, windows, and all interior remodeling except for kitchens and bathrooms, which after hearing Allan's story, I don't blame the guy at all, man. He is a very wise man, because but when it comes to those, these are actual systems that he puts in. And especially when it comes to roofing, he is, for one thing, Jay is one of the top-rated roofers in this entire region. He is a GAF Master Elite Installer. They are always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau and Good Housekeeping. And what sets Jay apart, for one thing, is that it requires training. They don't just let anybody put in these roofing systems. So all of his technicians are very well trained. He has expertise in all of the exterior protection of your home. But another unique feature of Jay Hill is the fact that he's a former insurance agent, which is hugely important, because he takes that experience and he he can help because if you have any damage to the outside of your home or the inside of your home that may be covered by your homeowner's insurance, that is an entire process and is not easy to navigate. You really need an advocate. It's almost like having a legal advocate on your side. And so if you suspect that you have any damage that may be covered by your homeowner's insurance, Jay should be the first person that you call. He'll come out. It's a free consultation. They're going to inspect the damage and evaluate and see if there's a path forward with making a homeowner's claim. And if there is, it's going to save you a lot of money, and it's a pretty exciting prospect. But what we also like is the fact that Jay brings a real energy and optimism to every project, and he likes to deal directly. He wants you to call him directly and talk to him directly. And also, Jay has 30 lenders at his disposal as well, so there's no problem with financing and getting everything taken care of. So call Jay directly. You can reach him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Max, are we ready to shift gears here?
And now, great moments in building history.
Well, this is not a big structure, but I think it's actually going to lead to a bigger conversation, Allan. So
it's not about the structure; it's a legacy.
Yeah. Well, there was a man named Amos Peters. You gotta like a guy named Amos. That's a biblical name, I think.
That's
Amos.
a good one.
Okay, so the thing is, he lived back. Now we're talking 1963,
right?
Longview, Washington, and I have to imagine traffic's even busier now than it is, than it was in '63. And he kept going down the road and noticing, well, dead animals by the side of the road. Because let's face it, we've seen it. How many times have we seen different busy roads where animals are attempting to get across, most notably squirrels, and he had enough. So he's one of these guys that he'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. He just took it upon himself to build something. It's called the Nutty Narrows Bridge. I don't remember what road it goes across, but this is Longview, Washington, so I'm guessing this is big timber country over there.
It is built over Olympia Way
in the Northwest. And but Allan, this thing is it wasn't just a simple bridge. This thing is grown, and it's almost a movement now that Amos created, right? I mean,
well, yeah. Basically, it kind of goes like this. On the edge of their local library, there's also on the other side of the same business park area was Park Plaza.
Okay.
So staff members have a tendency to want to feed the pigeons. The squirrels are cute and that kind of stuff. But, so basically we have an attractant across the street, a very wide, busy street. And he took one look at this and went, all right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. If we actually like these guys, let's make it easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was a builder, he just basically took it upon himself, got out there and built a squirrel bridge.
Yeah, but this is a nice looking bridge. It's decorative.
It's
something
cute.
you could be proud of, man. It looks cool.
It is.
It's got like a what do they call that? The tension. It's like the Golden Gate Bridge. What do they call that with the? Oh, there's a name for it. With the sweeping arches and everything.
Well, they went to the city council. And they just said, look, we're tired of the dead animals. They're causing, people are having wrecks trying to dodge animals.
That's a good point, too.
This is one of those being very pragmatic. And a councilwoman, I'm going to see if I can find her name here real quick, was Bess La Riviera. And she jokingly at the meeting said, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the Nutty Narrows.
The Nutty Narrows.
And the name stuck. And of a couple of architects, Robert Newell and Leroy Dahl. I love the fact that it's a member of the Dahl family.
Wait, this required
There are a couple of architects designed the bridge. Donald Kramer came in and did the structural engineering with Amos. And they built a 60-foot long bridge out of aluminum and fire hose.
Yeah, because it's flexible.
All right, guys, if you have never played with fire hose,
right,
this is the most durable material ever created. And in 1963, all of these people got together, and it cost them about $1,000, and they built the Nutty Narrows.
It looks. I'm glad that they made it look nice.
But I mean, everybody jumped in. This is kind of one of those just goofy ideas, and everybody went, well, I'll kick in on this. And guess what?
It's a feel-good project.
It is a feel-good project. And imagine being the people in the office, second story, third story, and you're watching this being built. So, that's better than doing any work. And then better than that, a couple of weeks after it's done, here are the squirrels teaching each other how to run back and forth up and down this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And now, it just became a part of the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plaque on there. It's nice. It's very cool. But, the thing is, it spawned new ideas. It's like, well, we have these other busy roads that have squirrelish. It's like we could probably use a few more of these. And so I believe this has become an annual construction project.
In 83, after 20 years worth of use, Peter took down the old bridge. They put new pieces in, updated it, repainted the signs, and even Disneyland's Chip and Dale and Mickey Mouse, among other local dignitaries, came out for the rededication of the bridge. So, I mean, just what an awesome, feel-good kind of, not a huge project, but in a lot of ways, it is a huge project.
Yeah.
It was simple. There's nothing in here the average person couldn't have done.
No, but like I said, it started a bigger conversation, and it led to bigger things. And who knows, it might have inspired another structure that we're going to talk about, or structures, when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Pay the price for your lack of vision.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And what a day. It's one of those days where a theme has emerged, and it's all about challenges and danger and
how electricity will kill you.
Yeah, electricity is a dangerous thing, and it's called the theory of electricity, right, Allan? Because it does weird things, including taking out a squirrel if he makes the connection. So,
don't grab the two terminals, guys.
Yeah. So we got a few things. Yeah, we got a lot to wrap up here. But if you're just tuning in, we were talking in our Great Moments in Building History about a very small construction that led to bigger and really bigger and better ideas. The Nutty Narrows Bridge, it was built in 1963. It was rededicated and rebuilt in 1983 in Longview, Washington, and it was basically a simple little bridge that it's like, I don't know, it's like 8 inches wide by 60 feet long, and it's a little thoroughfare for squirrels and other creatures to run across rather than getting run over by cars. But Allan, so this grew, we talked about this being a feel-good construction project, and how often have big things come out of simple ideas or just local, the community. This is a fun way to build a community. People are like, when you drive by, it's a conversation piece. You feel good. The animals aren't getting run over. But this in Longview, now they have a annual squirrel festival.
Yes.
And part of the Squirrel Festival is once a year they unveil a new squirrel bridge. They got squirrel bridges all over town. If you go to Longview, Washington, this is sort of their, I'm guessing it's kind of a touristy attraction. You can take the tour and find all the squirrel bridges, and these are nice. These are nice-looking bridges. Some of them mimic famous bridges around the world, and it's, what a cool idea. Why not? Good, clean fun. And, if you want to create a festival around it, there's worse things you could be doing. So
that's true. Which brings up a slightly bigger topic.
Right.
And that is the topic of wildlife bridges.
Well,
as we have cut roads and stuff all over the country and built dams and lakes and that kind of stuff, we have discovered that we were really inconveniencing our own selves. I'm going to put it squarely back on our own lap.
Okay.
I'm not going to get altruistic. I'm going to get, how much does it cost to hit a deer?
Well,
you can total a car or possibly even become injured or worse.
Yeah.
They're big animals, big, heavy, of what happens if, I'm from South Texas and, there are times where you can't go down a road because it's covered in frogs.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Have you, armadillos and there's just.
Armadillos seem to be the biggest victims.
I do have to ask a question though, because this is pertinent to me because I was just driving to the station this morning, and fortunately it was a quiet road, but I had to stop because there was a bird that would not move. I was crawling towards it. I didn't want to honk to wake people up. It eventually moved, but it's like, what do you do with creatures that are in flight as opposed to that can navigate the bridges easily?
Well,
I mean, I don't know about that, man, because all right, that bird sounds like he might have been stoned.
If it's one of our local lovely Canadian geese, you're stuck. He's going to stand there and look at you.
They think they own the joint.
They do own the joint. They're federally protected and they know it. A lot of communities have started building wildlife crossings over, under, or around structures. Of Memphis, as a sideways incidental, we have a green line that goes basically from the river all the way out to the county.
I never thought of that for the wildlife point of view.
Well, who do you think's using it at night?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not us.
Right.
And we have, we are a very tree-enriched city. We have a number of critters, be they possums, raccoons, squirrels, other such.
Yeah.
We do have a green line, which also offers little critters safe passage through much of the city.
But what you're talking about, Allan, I know we did a story on this a few years back too, and there's one I believe in L.A. where
huge.
Because I mean, you're in L.A. You're talking you could have 12 lanes of freeway traffic, and so they either have to go under or over, and the bridge going over was pretty cool looking. It's really wide. It's like wide enough for large
it's like
creature,
40 to 60 feet wide, and it's covered in soil, and it's got trees and grass and stuff growing on it, so that a critter crossing it really has no concept that it's crossing a highway.
Yeah, it's got like high walls and high it looks like it's just still out in nature. And I mean, that's a simple idea, and to me it's just being good caretakers of the earth.
And I'm just going to be just really, really just selfish about this and go, all right, for the person, I'm going to go, well, do we really need to spend that money for it? You're going to spend that money for it in collisions.
There you go.
And this way you get, something you can be proud of. And, let's face it, if you could watch squirrels run around an obstacle course around your building, you would. That's just adorable.
Yeah.
If you had the ability to, tell the kids, hey, we're going under that bridge where the bears can cross.
There you go.
That's just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So, no, it's just good, clean fun, as we say. But also, it's important.
And very pragmatic, very safe, much safer.
Well, and I mean, don't we need the animal population to be healthy? And I mean, that's part of the ecosystem too. You don't want to run out of animals to take. They take care of the forest and they take care of the greenery.
Well, I got news for you.
There,
I got rabbits and turkey vultures in my neighborhood, and I live in suburbia.
Yeah,
I got critters. I know
we've talked about it before, Max, but my prediction, and just the way I see things, developing, I still think the more high tech we get and the more developed we get, the more organic things are going to start looking. And I think we're going to see a lot more of these greeneries and these natural bridge crossings and stuff. Why not?
Because the way that I look at it is certain constructions, we as humans are sort of muscling in unfairly on their turf, and so why not kind of let's just say consider these like little reconciliation projects.
Yeah, and it's just it's just good, and it gives us a little balance and everything. So
it creates friendship and cooperation, just like that one discussion I had the other day of cooperation versus competition with the pests.
There you go.
Or as Allan called it, a détente.
Well,
détente sounds cooler.
Well, the thing is, nature is always going to exploit any opportunity. So, as we discovered in New York, pigeons moved in pretty quick. They love bridges, they love overpasses, and that kind of stuff. Well, guess who loves pigeons? Falcons.
Oh, wow.
So
we got
the Falcons
in the
began
city?
moving into the top of the skyscrapers. And how cool would it be to have an office on the 70th floor and a falcon nest right outside your window?
I mean, falcons are pretty cool. And they're fast and maneuverable.
Exactly. Well, we're building a modern mountain range, basically, in a big city.
Yeah.
So, the hawks and owls and stuff, they're moving in with us. And if we play our cards right, we can coexist easily. Now, this isn't to say you're not going to still have a termite contract on your house. You are. But, if you think things through just a little bit, hey, we all like having a bird feeder out. We like feeding the hummingbirds. We like having certain aspects of nature, living or coexisting peacefully with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think we did our part today. We celebrated nature. We, gave dignity to our our fallen squirrels. Next week, when we come back, we'll announce the winner of the name. The naming rights for this fallen squirrel, but we can't do it now. We're out of time, you guys. So you've been listening to another episode of Tool Talk Radio. On behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.